Hello, let's discuss about flower as a fascinating organ of flowering plants, or technically angiosperms. Indeed, flowers are one of the most amazing and wonderful part of flowering plants which are involved in sexual reproduction of flowering plant. You know that in flower we have male and female reproductive organ which will be having potential to produce seeds on germination. There is production of entire new plant. In this video, let's discuss about flower and its part which are involved in sexual reproduction. This is an introductory part of chapter number 2, that is sexual reproduction in flowering plants. Let's begin by discussing about some aids to the flower for sexual reproduction. You are aware that flowers possess scent, a sweet smell, fragrance, or perfume, which attract insect pollinators. Sometimes we even get attracted by the sweet smell of flower. Flowers also have nectar, nutrient-rich material, which are food for the insect pollinators. Flowers are also rich in color. Different brightly colored flowers are present all around us. So these are the aids or supportive features of flower for sexual reproduction. Now let's try to look at uses of flowers. All of you are aware that flowers are used as object of aesthetic. Aesthetic here refers to beauty purpose. We usually keep flowers in our home to keep our home beautiful, to make our home beautiful. We also use flowers as an ornamental piece. We usually plant different colored flowers in garden so that our guests will get appeased. Not just for that, right? Flowers are also having religious purpose. Used for religious purpose. Flowers are also having cultural value. We also use flowers for different social purposes. Whenever someone is having wedding, we used to present flower. Or whenever there is a gathering and if someone came as a guest lecturer, we usually present the guest lecturer with a flower. So flowers are having lots of uses. Flowers are mainly for conveying or for showing, for expressing human feelings. We usually show happiness, feeling of affection, love with flower. On the other hand, sometimes if we are sad due to death of someone, we also mourn by keeping flower. We usually show our solidarity, grief, sadness by presenting flowers. So in addition to that, we have many uses of flower. You are aware that flowers are also used for production of different industrial products, whether it be perfume, soap, detergent, or many others. Now let's try to remember some of the important flowers which are used for religious and cultural purposes. You are very much aware that jasmine is used for different cultural celebration. Jasmine is scientifically known as Jasminum sampen. We also use lotus, Nelumbo nucifera. We have helicopter flower, Hyptage, marigold, Tagetes grandis, rose, Rosa indica. All these flowers are used for different religious and cultural celebration. Now, how do flowers grow on plants? You are observing here an animated image. At the tip of the branch of the animated image, you are able to see a tiny growth, and there is a larger piece of that, and you are able to see a tiny bud which is coming out to become flower, which is blossoming to become flower. So this is a phenomenon that we used to observe in our nature about how flowers are growing on plants. Now, when we speak scientifically, then there are many biochemical changes occurring, because of which there is production of structural changes. So in plant we have phytohormones. So there are various phytohormonal activities occurring, and by which there is production of some structural changes, or there is morphological changes occurring, and then form floral primordium. Floral here refers to flower. Primordium here refers to the first tissue which will be leading to the formation of flower. So first there is occurrence of activity of hormones, and hormones will show, or hormones will be leading to production of different structural changes. And then there is formation of floral primordium. Floral primordium is the first tissue which will be leading to formation of flower. So floral primordium will be dividing, and cells in the floral primordium will specialize or differentiate and further develop into a mature floral primordium, which will indirectly lead to the formation of buds, floral buds, and floral buds on blossoming there is formation of flower. So this is how flowers are usually growing on flowering plants. Now this image have been seen by you many times, and you were drawing diagram of flower. So this diagram is representing longitudinal section or LS section of bisexual flower. Bisexual flower is having both the female reproductive organ, that is pistil or carpel, and stamen. Around pistil and stamen we have different floral parts. Now let's try to review these different parts by discussing the four main walls of flower. Walls here refers to the arrangement of parts of the flower in circular fashion. So the four main walls of flower can be categorized as reproductive organs and accessory organs. Accessory organs are secondary organs which are not directly involved in reproduction, but these will be assisting in reproduction of flowering plants. So reproductive organs are directly involved in reproduction. Reproductive organ may be androecium. Andro here refers to male. So androecium is wall of stamens. Stamens which are arranged in circular fashion is known as androecium. So androecium is constituted by different stamens, and stamens are male reproductive organ. So female reproductive organ is constituted by gynoecium. Gynoecium, if these are present in circular fashion, we call it as walls of pistil or carpel. Now, in addition to the male and female reproductive organ, we say that we have accessory organs. For example, we have corolla. Corolla is brightly colored petals which are arranged in circular fashion. Usually, corolla attract insect pollinators. We also have calyx. Calyx are the outermost wall of sepals which help in protection of flower during the bud stage of the flower. So with this slide we have discussed about androecium, gynoecium, corolla and calyx as four walls of flower. Now let's discuss androecium and gynoecium one by one. First, let's look at the parts of the typical stamen. Stamen is composed of bulging head portion which is known as bilobed anther, which is anther, or over here I've described anther as bilobed anther. Anther is usually having two lobes or two parts. One part here and the other part is shown at the back side. So bilobed anther is usually attached to the filament. Filament is hair-like structure. These are long, slender stalk. Slender here refers to thin. So stalk is the connecting part. And filament is having proximal end, which is usually attached to the thalamus or to the petal. In epipetalous flowers, we have end of the filament which is attached to the petal. And in case of some other flowers, all the stamens are attached to the thalamus. Thalamus is the platform on which all the floral parts are attached. Now let's try to discuss in detail about the structure of anther. Now we have seen anther having two lobes, and in each lobe we have two theca or two sac or two compartments. You are able to see here two lobes of the anther, and in each lobe we have two rooms or two sac. That's why we are calling anther as diathecous. And if you observe here, you are able to see a tiny furrow, tiny depression, tiny constriction which runs lengthwise along the anther, and that is called as longitudinal groove. So longitudinal groove separate the theca. We have in total 4 theca, 2 in each of the lobe of anther. Now if we cut the anther, we are able to observe the transverse section of the anther, and in the transverse section we are able to see clearly the diathecous nature of anther and longitudinal groove running lengthwise. So one room, another room, which are these two rooms are present in one part or one lobe of anther, and we also have other two opposite of the other lobe, and you are able to see tiny furrow or tiny constriction or tiny groove which runs lengthwise. See, separating the compartments or separating the theca or sac. Now, we also say that anther is tetragonal. Tetra refers to 4, gonal here refers to surface. Anther is having 4 surfaces. Front surface, back surface, if we consider our right side, right surface and left surface. So in total we are having 4 surfaces. That's why anther is 4-sided or tetragonal. Anther is also tetrasporangiate. Tetra refers to 4, right? Sporangiate refers to having 4 sporangia. Sporangia here is microsporangia. Micro refers to tiny in comparison to the megasporangium produced by the female reproductive part of flower. We have microsporangia which are usually present in the anther, right? So we are having 1, 2, 3 and 4 microsporangia. That's why we are calling anther as tetrasporangiate. See, we have 4 sporangia at each corner of the anther or in each of the theca or the compartment or the sac. Microsporangia will be later forming into pollen sac, will be later maturing into pollen sac, and pollen sac is containing pollen grains, right? So pollen grains will be coming out after breaking the longitudinal groove or after opening the longitudinal groove. And the line of longitudinal groove can be considered as line of dehiscence. Dehiscence here refers to opening of anther. Naturally there is breaking out of the anther arcus through the longitudinal groove, and that is called as line of dehiscence. Now with this we have studied that anther is diathecous having longitudinal groove, and anther is tetragonal and tetrasporangiate. And anther is mainly for production of pollen grains. Now let's look at the detailed structure of microsporangium. We have seen an outermost layer which is known as epidermis. Epi means above. So outermost dermis is epidermis. Inside epidermis we have endothecium. Endo refers to inside. Thecium here refers to covering or theca. Inside endothecium we have layers of layers of cell, and those are known as middle layer. And inside the middle layer we are able to, at each corner we are able to find tapetum, cells which are arranged in circular manner at each corner, and those are known as tapetum. And inside tapetum, the tapetum is protecting, or tapetum is usually enclosing the homogeneous tissue or sporogenous tissue. Sporo here refers to spore. So pollen is microspore when it is young. So sporogenous tissue is having spores, microspores. Now, all these structures are connected together by connective. Two lobes of the anther are connected together by connective connective tissue that is called as connective. Though I've shown you a diagram having lines, if you observe under microscope, then you are able to see these lines as line of cells which are arranged, attached together. So outermost layer is epidermis, and inside epidermis we have endothelium, middle layer, and inside middle layer we are able to see the tapetum, cells of tapetum, and inside the cells of tapetum we have sporogenous tissue which will be later forming pollen grains, and the cell from which pollen grains are formed is known as microspore mother cell. Now this is an enlarged view of one microsporangium showing all the layers. So this is very important. You have to learn how to draw this enlarged view or microscopic view of microsporangium, very important. Now this is a microscopic view of microsporangium. This is of lily, anther of lily, and you are able to see microsporangium, one microsporangium, another microsporangium, and the other two microsporangium, and these are attached together by connective. Now we have seen that they are layers of epidermis, the outermost layer, endodermis, middle layer, and we have innermost wall or layer which is known as tapetum. Tapetum is usually having cells with dense cytoplasm and generally have more than one nucleus. They are multinucleated. So cells in the tapetum are multinucleated. Now the function of epidermis, endothelium and middle layer is to protect the pollen grain, and it is helping in dehiscence or break open the anther to release pollen grains. Tapetum is mainly nourishing the pollen grain, and it is also helping in development of anther. So the innermost is having homogeneous tissue, which is usually known as sporogenous tissue, and which is consisting of pollen mother cell, and which will be later developing into pollen grains. Now let's look at the female reproductive part of flowering plant. That is pistil. Pistil is also known as carpel. Many pistils or carpel will arrange in circular fashion to form gynoecium. And the topmost portion is usually bulged, and that is usually having a surface which is flat, and it is helping in receiving of pollen grains. So that is known as stigma, usually sticky in nature, which help in receiving the pollen grain. So stigma is landing platform for pollen grains, and stigma is attached to the style, which is thin and elongated. So stigma is attached to the ovary with the help of style. So ovary is the bulged basal bulge. Base of the pistil is ovary, and it is usually bulged. So inside the ovary we have ovarian cavity, which is known as locule, and inside the locule we have placenta, to which we have attachment of ovules, or technically we are using term megasporangium for ovule, and all these structures are attached to the thalamus. So these are the parts of typical pistil, and this diagram is from your textbook. We have stigma, style and ovary, and these are attached to the thalamus. Now let's try to look at some differences in the nature of pistil in different flower. We have monocarpellary flower, which are having only one pistil, which are having only one carpel. If only one female reproductive part or pistil is present, it is known as monocarpellary flower, or the flower is said to be having one carpel, monocarpellary. Multicarpellary flower are having many carpels, and we have two different categories. Some multicarpellary flowers are having syncarpous carpel, Syn here refers to fuse together. So if pistils are fused together to form one carpel, then one unit of carpel, then that is called a syncarpous carpel. For example, in case of papaver, you are able to see fusion of many pistils to form one unit. You are able to see this kind of structure with this flower. Inside the flower, you are able to see the single unit of fusion of many pistils. Now, on the other hand, we have apocarpus. Apocarpus is having many pistil or carpel which are usually free in nature. Free, they are not attached together. So you are able to see here in this diagram, you are able to see carpels which are free, not attached together like syncarpous nature of carpel in papaver. And you are able to see this structure here in this flower, picture of flower. So we have two main categories of pistil, maybe monocarpellary or multicarpellary. Multicarpellary pistil may be fused together, maybe having fused pistils to form one unit called as syncarpous. Apocarpus are having pistils in many number which are free, not fused together. These are free. The example shown here, this flower is of Michelia. So Apocarpus gynoecium is found in Michelia, or Apocarpus pistil is found in Michelia. Now let's look at what is present inside the ovary. We said that inside the ovary, ovule is present. Ovules will be later developing into seed. Now, what is the main part of ovule? Main part of ovule is embryo sac. And embryo sac, when about to mature, that these are having many cells. The main cell is egg cell, which will be forming zygote, right? And egg cells are attached along with synergids. So synergids are usually found close to egg, and these together are known as egg apparatus. Egg apparatus is constituted by egg and synergid, cells of synergid. And opposite to the cells of synergid egg apparatus, we have cells of antibodies, antibodal cells. And we also have nuclei at the center, center of central cell. We have three antibodal cells and egg, two synergids having 6 cells, plus we have also a central cell having polar nuclei, 2 polar nuclei, which will later fuse with one of the male gamete and form 3 nuclei. Okay, so these cells is constituting embryo sac or female gametophyte. Now, this part or embryo sac is the main part of female reproductive organ present within the ovule. And if we discuss about typical anatropous ovule, anatropous here refers to inverted, upside down, usually growing ovule which is usually growing upside down, not upright, ovule growing upside down. Now, when the anatropous ovule is about to mature, then you are able to see embryo sac and its cells. And around the embryo sac, we are having a layer of cell called as nucellus. And nucellus is protected inside inner integument. We also have outer integument, which is protecting the entire structure of ovule. We also have tiny pore through which there is entry of pollen tube, and that is called as micropyle. And micropyle is near to a pole known as micropylar pole. So micropylar pole is the pole or region or part which is near to which is having micropyle. And opposite to the micropylar pole, we have chalazal pole. Chalazal pole is opposite of micropylar pole, where there is no micropyle. Micropyle is near to micropylar pole. Now, all these structures are attached to funicle. Funicle is usually attached to the placenta of the ovule, and funicle is attached to hilum, a structure known as hilum, and entire structure of ovule is attached to funicle with the help of a junction or part called as hilum. Now this is just for you to understand what is embryo sac and how anatropous ovule is usually present within the ovary. Now, if you are asked to draw a diagram of anatropous ovule, then this diagram, as given in your textbook, we have to draw this diagram, having all the features. So I hope you will follow up with your textbook diagram. Now, let's try to look at differences in the number of ovules in ovary. We have ovary having one ovule, say in case of rice, in case of wheat and mango, we have one ovule. That's why whenever we are eating mango is having one seed because of ovules. Ovules will be developing into seed. So we have ovary having one ovule, and we also have ovary having many ovules. So many ovules are found in papaya, watermelon, and orchids. Orchids are usually tiny flowers which are growing together in large number, and in these orchids are having many seeds. Seeds are usually developed from ovule. So even in watermelon and papaya, we found many seeds, and these seeds will be later developing into these seeds are developed from ovule. So this is all about our discussion related to flower and its structural parts which are involved in sexual reproduction. Now you have to answer these questions. Better not read the entire question. You should try to read and try to understand it. All these questions are easy, so try to answer these questions by pausing the video. And now this is the end of our video for this session. Thank you. Take care. Bye.